But let's get into it. What am I doing? My number one thing that I'm doing this offseason, I'm looking at all of my teams and I'm making an honest assessment. I don't care if I just won the championship. How can I make my team better? Because look, a lot of times, and look, we know fantasy football, it's a lot of luck. How can I make my team better to avoid luck and focus on sheer power? I'm also taking a look at draft capital and trying to decide if I can or need to move up in the draft right now before the price of picks goes up. Let me give you a prime example of a team that just won a championship that needs to get better. I got by with two quarterbacks named Jared Goff and Geno Smith. My third quarterback is Marcus Mariota. On the bench, I also have Trace McSorley, Skylar Thompson, Tyrod Taylor. My thought is I need to get better. I need to get better. My team was 10-4 going into the championship. There was a three-way tie. I was first in the league because of points scored. Okay. Now, Mike, how did you get to the championship with those players? So what I did was I started off with Jamar Chase, Devontae Adams. What I think I'm going to do, one of the things that I was thinking about with this league is I'm going to try to move Devontae Adams for draft capital. I'm likely going to have the 112. So can I use that to move up and get CJ Stroud? Do I want to get CJ Stroud? Do I want to get Bryce Young? Do I want to get Will Levis? I got to be honest with you. I don't know if those guys make sense on a championship team. I might try to trade for an established quarterback who I can afford. That's the question. So I might have to move a guy like Devontae Adams, who came through with 34.3 points in this league. I could move TJ Hawkinson. I could move David Montgomery. I could move Miles Sanders. But I'm already thinking of guys that I can move to make my team better next year. And I understand that the championship, I haven't even been paid for this league yet. I'm already trying to think of what I could do to get my team better. So let's look at a bit of a kind of a group discussion here. So we always try to move a player a year early instead of milking every little bit, letting a player die on your roster and potentially missing out on value. So possibly willing to move on from guys like Amari Cooper, Mike Evans, and Devontae Adams. Devontae Adams, who I just talked about. Devontae Adams, there's a possibility that he's not going to be in Las Vegas next year, right? So
good chance he's not.
Yeah, I mean,
Good chance, right?
let's look at some trades. Look at here that we can talk about how to do that. What about Amari Cooper for Dallas Goedert? You guys making that trade?
Yeah.
I'm making that trade.
Dude, I don't know, man. I love Dallas Goedert. But I think there's more to be had with the Deshaun Watson and Cooper connection, honestly.
You think so?
I honestly do. I think
Okay.
it takes time, right? And we talked about in the last podcast, Watson hasn't played in over 700 days till this season. That's a lot of time to be missing, a lot of rust to knock off. So I can see the Cooper side, honestly, because, I mean, tight end, I like Goddard. I think he could be a top 5 guy, but also there's sometimes where A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith take over, and I see 3 targets to Goddard. And he's not the healthiest guy either, right?
The good thing about those 3 targets for Dallas Goedert is they could be 74 yards and a touchdown.
That is true.
That's the thing. I mean, I'm taking the Goddard side. Amari Cooper, he's going to hit. He's 28. You know what I mean? I know that everyone thinks that Deshaun Watson's like it. I don't think he's as good as people think he is, to be perfectly honest with you.
Yeah.
That's not because of off the field stuff. But to me, if I can move on from Amari Cooper and get Dallas Goedert, a guy who could potentially be a top 3 tight end at his position, I think would have been had he not gotten that bogus injury this year. I'm gonna take the Dallas Goedert side. Yeah. You can find another Amari Cooper. It's harder to find another Dallas Goedert.
Yeah, it's true, because the tight end scarcity in fantasy is just so bad. I'll take that Goddard side over aging Amari at this point. Even though Amari he did look good last week, I give him that.
Oh, I'm sorry, Devontae Adams for a 23 first and Jameson Williams.
Man, I still think we saw Devontae Adams this last week, and I think it's hard for me to trade him for Jameson Williams, who I love, but Same. I think there's so much potential still for Devontae Adams, even though I wouldn't mind trading him for J-Mo in the first, but I still think if you're contending, you want Devontae Adams on your team at this point.
Yeah, I do too. And if I'm going to move Devontae Adams for a pick and a wide receiver, I want a wide receiver that to me is a clean bill of health.
Yeah.
You know, I know that Jameson Williams has looked good in the time that he's been playing. I understand that.
Yeah.
But I think you guys understand where I'm coming from there, right?
No, I totally get it. I think you kind of got to pump the brakes on it a little bit, as you got to also remember Detroit is still a run-first offense. So I think if you're going to trade Devontae Adams, you're going to want a more polished and a more a veteran type of receiver that you know you're going to get kind of that same production from.
There's other guys out there that if it was a 23 first and like Chris Olave, but here's the thing: a lot of these really good wide receivers are not in good situations quarterback wise. Chris Olave has Andy Dalton throwing him the ball, although Andy Dalton looked pretty good this past week. Andy Dalton's a veteran quarterback; he knows where to put the ball. Garrett Wilson, their quarterback situation is just atrocious up there. Drake London, his quarterback situation is not good either. We still don't really know what Desmond Ridder is going to be. Now if you could find a way, if it was like a 23 first and Garrett Wilson, and then somehow I get John Mechie on top of that too, guy who's on the pup because he has leukemia, which from everything I've heard, he's doing much, much better and is going to be on track for next year. A little bit of an added bonus. Then I'd be interested in something like that. But I agree with Chev. Like, I still would probably hold Devontae Adams there.
Yeah.
But let's look at this last one. Devontae Adams and Treylon Burks. That's the trade that came up, but I would think it would have to be Treylon Burks plus.
Big time.
Plus.
I like Treylon Burks.
I don't like his quarterbacks throwing to him.
No.
I'll tell you that.
Can we say that Malik Willis ain't it?
Sadly.
I'm starting to get there. Sadly, I liked Malik Willis coming out. I think he had the tools. I wanted to give him some time to learn. But it don't look like it's it, bro. Especially if Josh Dobbs took snaps from your practice and started and actually looked serviceable. I think it was a GM thing, to be honest. The GM got fired. I think the GM wanted him and Vrabel did not. And it's clear. It's clear cut, especially that he's not starting now.
Pork, let's look at what you are doing moving on or moving into this offseason.
I'm looking for all the teams, whether you're a contending team or a rebuilding team, look at that IR spots, because I think a lot of players, fantasy players that are playing, are more likely to be tired of having some of these players in the IR. So there's a few examples that a lot of people are tired of having, such as Trey Lance. If you want to acquire Trey Lance for cheap, you probably be able to acquire him cheaply right now, only because he, like we said, he hasn't played at all. Guys like, Javonte Williams, he got hurt. I think a lot of people are scared to even pick him up for next year because they think that knee injury is going to linger into next year. So I think some people may be willing to move off of him. So when that's the case, that value right now comes down. So you're not going to be paying a first-round pick for Javonte Williams. You can possibly go for a second-round pick, but again, it's also based off of the fantasy owner that you have on that team. But I think the biggest value for IR spots this year that's in that slot is guys like Rashad Bateman, Nico Collins, KJ Hamler. I know he's older, but Allen Robinson, Wan'Dale Robinson, Darnell Mooney. These are guys that can give you good value for your fantasy team next year and get them very cheaply. Some of these guys you can get for a third or fourth round pick and for fantasy drafts this year, because people are just continuing to looking to move and get younger. And I'm glad Mike mentioned John Mechie, because John Mechie guys are just totally forgotten about him. But if you looked at the film from Alabama, the dude was a dog, and he's going to the Texans. They're getting a new quarterback, because they might be getting the aforementioned Bryce Young, as we mentioned before. So that's a good chemistry for a wide receiver quarterback right there. Scour through all your leagues, look at taxi squads, IR spots, and look for guys that you can acquire for cheaply. Build depth throughout your team. We always talk about depth. If you're not going to have all studs in your team, so people will get hurt, you can move them up to your starting lineup, like the Nico Collins of the world.
So Phil, when we're talking acquire cheaply, guys like Trey Lance and Matthew Stafford and Kyler Murray, I think you could acquire cheaply. I still think Trey Lance people are holding on. You're probably going to have to at least throw a late first at him to get him.
Yeah, but I just think that's just I get what you're saying. That's just so unrealistic.
Well, listen,
but I get what you're saying.
I don't disagree with you. I'm just telling you what the market is. Breece Hall, Javonte Williams, I agree. I'm going to talk about those guys later. J.D. McKissick, CEH, probably staying away from those guys. I'd probably throw a third at Rashad Penny if I could. Damian Pierce, I'll throw a third at him. By the way, Nate told you to sell him. If you could
don't sell him for a third. Do not sell him for a third.
Don't sell him for a third.
If I could get him for one, I
but
guess.
If you can get him, yes.
Yeah, that's why I said this is for rebuilding teams and contending teams. So it kind of works both ways.
I mean, Greg Dulcich, I've been high on. Zach Ertz, Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts is still going to be hard to get cheap. He's a guy that you're probably going to have to at least a mid-round first to start plus.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to be right about Kyle Pitts. I love Rashad Bateman, Nico Collins. I love him. Cooper Kupp, definitely not going to be cheap. KJ Hamler, I might pass on him. Allen Robinson, he's going to be walking into a crypt soon. Wando Robinson, I'd be willing to throw a second-round pick out there at Wando Robinson. I mean, look, the cover's really bared in New York. Kenny Galladay can't even get on the field.
Isaiah Hodgins on that team, he might have a spot for next year. He's been balling.
He's been playing really well.
Kenny Galladay. He's literally taking his spot.
And Darnell Mooney, I will definitely try to acquire as well. So I agree. It's some of these guys aren't going to be as cheap as we want them to be, but I understand your logic here, where you're coming from.
Yeah, this one's tough because when I first started, I loved the draft running backs. I thought that was the cream of the crop. That's the way to go. And the guys that I'm telling you to sell are a couple guys that were the first picks that I've ever drafted. This guy, Dalvin Cook. Second player ever drafted in Dynasty Fantasy Football, but it's time. It's time to unload and get what you can. That offensive line, that run game has been pitiful to me, at least, just watching them in Lambeau this last week. It just never works out for them there. And I think it's time to get what you can for Dalvin Cook. Sadly, it's coming to an end. Dalvin Cook, a guy out of Florida State, great player. Love the dude, but you probably get it. I've seen a lot of trades where you get a 23 first for him. I think that's a great value to get. I think you want to get some kind of player added onto that. I would try to get a 23 first and like a Pacheco or a James Cook. I think those would be good side pieces to get that could possibly turn into something. I'm not saying they are, but getting that thrown in, I think, is best case scenario with the first. Also, 23 first and Calvin Ridley. I think Calvin Ridley is going to be in a really, really good situation as long as he can stay on the field and not bet on games and be clear of any off-field drama. I think that'd be good value for Dalvin Cook and plenty of other guys that I think you should be trading. We got Ezekiel Elliott.
Oh, yeah.
A good year this year, something you can benefit from. He's got a really good name as well. A lot of people know him. A lot of people could like him really a lot. Another guy, Leonard Fournette, didn't have the greatest season. Most likely Tom Brady. I don't see him coming back. He just does not look like he's having fun on that team. So I can see him in a different situation. I don't know what Leonard's contract is going to look like next year. I'm not sure. I think he has one more year left in Tampa. I don't know. I don't really know if I want what is going to be happening there. You have Austin Eckler, who RB1 this season, but he's going to be 28 next year. Is it time to benefit off of him being the number one running back in this fantasy season? I think you have to look at least. You have to at least see what you can get for him. If it's nothing you like, then you don't trade him. You just keep riding him. But I think you have to think about it. And Derrick Henry as well. Guy's going to be 29 or 30 next year. That's tough for a running back, especially with the foot injury that he had. Great player still, but I want to get out on him a year earlier than later, right? We just talked about that. And the last one, man, it hurts my soul to say, but I think it's time to look at trades for Nick Chubb. In that Cleveland offense, it has been rough for running backs since Deshaun Watson has come in. I don't think it's going to be the greatest situation for Nick Chubb. I mean, they've played in games this past few weeks that should have been run-only games where it was 30-mile-per-hour winds, and guy just did not get production there. I think their offensive line is battling through injuries and whatnot, but I think it's time to think about trading Nick Chubb. Everybody loves him, big name. You can go out and get 2 firsts possibly for him. I think that's great value. You can always replace him in the draft. I mean, there's plenty of good backs coming out this year. ETN in a second is something I saw as well. I think you get the younger back in an offense that is going to throw him the football more. We've seen Nick Chubb not get many passes thrown to him. And in PPR, that sucks. That's taken away from his skill set. I saw another one that was Devonta Smith and A.J. Dillon. You can slide A.J. Dillon into the Nick Chubb spot. Not as good, but you get Devonta Smith, who has turned it on this last few weeks. And another one was DK Metcalf for Nick Chubb. I just think getting those wide receivers for a running back that is going to be 27, 28, going on their second contract in their career, I think you have to sometimes take the hit and gain value and be a year early, sadly, for Nick Chubb. As much as it hurts me to say, man, that's one thing that I have learned. It's okay to the guy have a good season next year, but you see the fall off possibly the year after, and you're like, dang, I'm glad I made that trade.
And to reiterate, Leonard Fournette, he's actually a free agent after 2024.
Oh wow,
$0 guaranteed salary in 2024. His dead cap, if he's cut pre-June 1st, is 1.5 million. Next year, however, if he's cut before June 1st of this season, forgive me, that is a $5 million dead cap hit that they'll take. So it's one of those things, man. We've seen teams cut players with a bigger dead cap. So
yeah,
it's really not unrealistic. He's 27. Chev, I love it. And, let me talk some more running backs here. My last move that I'm going to make is I'm going to look to acquire Breece Hall and Javonte Williams. Look, we got a really strong free agency class, and we got a really strong incoming rookie class too. But we know when these running backs come back to full health, they're going to have defined roles on their roster. Okay. All the BS is out of there for that Javonte Williams had to deal with. Hopefully Russell Wilson figures out how to play quarterback again. Hopefully they get a competent head coach in there. And Breece Hall, man, he was a hammer when he was in there. It really was. So we know that what these guys are going to do. I don't want to say the good thing about them getting hurt. I guess the good thing about them getting hurt early is they're younger. These guys are going to recover a little bit faster than if they're older. My thought process here is that with both having season-ending injuries and the likely flurry of free agency moves and the allure of the incoming rookie running back class, I can attempt to get these guys at a slight discount. Okay, and you're still going to have to pay up. Okay. And, look, yeah, I'm still looking to make these moves despite them being unlikely to be viable in 2023. This is not a move that I'm going to make if I'm a contending team that just won a championship, or a team that finished second or third, and I think I'm a piece or two away. Okay, so this is predominantly for middle of the pack team, lower tier team, trying to move around some draft capital, what you have. But let's talk about some trades. So for Javonte Williams, let's see, Chev, would you do this one? Would you take the Javonte Williams or Cam Akers in a 23-second?
I'm still going to stick with Javonte. I really like what his game brings for the Broncos. He can catch passes out of the backfield. Cam Akers has been all over the place. He has been playing well, but I want to go Javonte here.
Pork, what about a CMC for Javonte in a 23 first?
I'm taking the Javonte side in that case. The CMC, I love myself some CMC, but again, we're still seeing this year the injuries are still piling up, and it's just inevitable. We just don't know when it's going to happen. So I'd rather get off of it now, get the younger running back in the pick.
And the last one, Josh Jacobs for Javonte in a 23-second. Yeah, I'll take the Javonte side. A lot of question marks with Josh Jacobs. I think the worst thing that could happen to him right now is he returns to the Raiders. In a 23-second, look, that's a nice little consolation prize on top there. As far as Breece Hall goes, let's talk about this one. Deshaun Watson for Breece Hall and Matthew Stafford. Chev, you're kind of in on Deshaun Watson. What would you do in this situation, though? Matthew Stafford also out for the season with a neck injury.
Yeah, I think Matthew Stafford comes back. They're going to try to put together, I imagine, another good season. If he doesn't come back, I mean, there's possibility that who knows what that offense is going to look like. But I still like Breece Hall, young running back. I mean, we could possibly be talking about this guy as the RB1 next season if he didn't get hurt, in my opinion. He was playing that well.
Pork, what about straight up DK Metcalf for Breece Hall?
This is a tough one for me, to be honest.
I
think in this case, I might go with the DK Metcalf side because I like to build my teams around the receivers. Yeah. But that's just in that case. Gino overexceeded my expectations this year, so I'm going to believe in him again and go with that DK side. But
yeah,
either way, I like that. I love Breece on that offense.
Yeah. The last one here, Chev, this ties into what you were talking about too. Nick Chubb for Tyler Algier, who's been playing very well, and Breece Hall. I mean, obviously, this is a tale of teams going in two different directions here.
Facts.
So, yeah, I think it's pretty fair.
Well, that is it for this video. I do hope you all enjoyed. Please leave a like if you did. Comment down below your thoughts on the video itself. If you want to support this team and go deeper with us and get access to bonus content, written content, rankings, and our Discord community group chat, be sure to check out patreon.com/Dynasty Rewind. It's a great way to support the brand and let us know that you want us to keep cranking out awesome content. And you get access to all of us 24/7. Lastly, if you enjoyed this video today, I'm sure you'll love this one too. Be sure to go check it out. But hey, that is it for me today. I'll see y'all in the next one. But until then, y'all have a good one.